Hello, teachers, parents, and educational leaders, and welcome to this episode of Breaking Down the B.E.S.T. Now, during this episode, you will get a peek into the members-only area where I have tons of resources to help you make math fun, make it click, and make it stick. There should be a link somewhere around this video where you can learn more. All right, now that we got that out of the way, let's get to it, and let's break down the standard. Welcome to Breaking Down the B.E.S.T, a video series dedicated to breaking down Florida's B.E.S.T standards for math. So grab something to write with and maybe even a snack. This looks good. And don't forget to put a smile on your face. There you go, I see you. And let's dive into today's B.E.S.T standard. Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Sarah McCarthy, the creator of McCarthy Math Academy, and I want to thank you for taking time out of your crazy, busy, non-stop schedule to join me on this episode where we are going to break down the following standard. MA.4.NSO.2.5. MA stands for Mathematics, 4 stands for 4th grade, NSO is Number Sense and Operations, and 2.5 is just our standard for today. And the standard says that we will explore the multiplication and division of multi-digit whole numbers using estimation. There we go. Using estimation, rounding, and place value. So this one is just really focusing on how when we're multiplying and dividing, the whole point of using rounding is because of estimation, right? So they gave some examples here that I definitely think would be a good idea to take a look at. And what I liked was that they were saying, okay, so the product of 215 and 460 can be estimated as being between 80,000 and 125,000 because we could round down to 200 times 400, or we could round up to 250 times 500. So we know that our estimation will be between the product of 80,000 and 125,000. Something here that I was seeing is it says estimating quotient builds the foundation for division using a standard algorithm. And just to keep in mind, the limits for dividends are up to 4 digits and the divisors are limited to up to 2 digits. So just when you're creating problems or scouting through problems, making sure that it doesn't exceed those limitations there. All right, so where you can see here that we have a lot of related benchmarks, that multiplication and division is huge in 4th grade. And so there are a lot of standards that are related there. I've went ahead and marked these up. So NSO.1.1 is our 10 times greater than or less than standard. 1.2 is where we're reading and writing numbers. 1.3 is where we're plotting numbers, ordering them and comparing them up to 1 million. 1.4 is that rounding standard. The 4.AR.1.1 is the multiplication and division word problem standard. 4.M.1.2 is the measurement conversion standard. Again, we'll be multiplying and dividing, so it's going to be helpful to know how to estimate as well. 4.M.2.1 is the 2-step problem using distance and time, related to distance and time. Then we have area and these 2 geometry standards. So being able to estimate multiplication first to determine if that product is reasonable. So you can see there's a lot. There's actually probably a lot more. I'm wondering why like NSO.2.3 and NSO.2.4 is not listed there, but really anything that is related to multiplication and division would be related to the standard that we're going through today, the 2.5. You need to know what expression is, or your students need to know that an expression means that there is no equal sign present. An equation means that there is an equal sign present. And when you're referring to a factor, it's what you're multiplying by. Factor times factor equals the product. So where are they coming from? Well, in 3rd grade, they had this standard right here, which is their rounding standard to the nearest 10 and 100. So they're coming definitely with that knowledge. We also have exploring multiplication with this standard, and this is actually exploring multiplication and division too. And then in MA.5.NSO.2.4, we're kind of doing the same thing. We're exploring multiplication and division with decimals using estimation. So eventually we'll gravitate up to decimals with multiplication and division. So, purpose and instructional strategies. By the way, I forgot to mention that this document right here that I'm marking up is not something that I created. I can't take credit for that. The Florida Department of Education makes this a public document, and I'm just showing you how I use the document that they create to break down standards and then create the resources for you with your membership to taking on the B.E.S.T. So this is the purpose and instructional strategies section, and let's see. This jumped out at me. They should use mental math and computation strategies to estimate to determine if the solution is reasonable. That's the whole point. So we're really using the standard to make it clear that estimation is important. They've mentioned that students may obsess over whether they got the same estimation. And that's the cool thing about when you're estimating, you might come up with you might estimate numbers a little bit differently than somebody next to you. But yes, right there, and that it's our job as teachers to explain that both estimates can be useful and acceptable. So I like that they added that there. These are some of the instructional tasks that they have provided, and how we might assess their understanding here. So you can take a look at that. But I would like to show you now what you have access to in your membership. So let's do that. So here we are at McCarthyMathAcademy.com. We're going to go to members, enter here. Taking on the B.E.S.T, of course. What grade are we going to explore? 4th grade. Which standard? We're in NSO. We're looking for 2.5, which is right here, using estimation to multiply and divide. Let's click that. And here are your bronze resources. So we have one video lesson and a printable student guide to go with it, and another video lesson and a printable guide. So your bronze resources, you do have access to the video lessons and the printables that go with those video lessons. So right here it says using estimation to multiply. Let's click on the printable so you can see. And you can tell it's a video lesson by the icon right there. It says, is 21,000 a good estimate for the product of 57 times 323? And explain. And you can see this is what we're going to be working on today, just determining whether estimates are good based on the expressions. See, here's an expression because there is no equal sign, based on the expressions provided. So that's what we tackle in that episode. Okay, and then in the next episode, we have using estimation to divide with the same kind of style, just this time we're dividing. Next, if you have the silver membership, you have access to these resources to support this standard. So you have the printables, the answer keys, and the math misconception mystery video lesson. We'll take a look at that in the printable, and you can always go back to your bronze resources right there. So let's take a look at what you've got for printables. You can see here the video lesson that we just talked about. And then after the video lesson with your silver membership, you have access to extra practice and answer keys too to check. So here's that video lesson using estimation to divide, and then an extra practice for that same skill. Then we have the math mission where we're putting it all together. It says here that Mr. Toddy purchased 70 packs of pencils for his students. Each package contains 10 pencils. He wants to give an equal number of pencils to each of his 21 students. One student estimated that Do you think that this would be a good estimate? So you can see here, we're just kind of tying it all together, putting it back into a real world situation that requires a little bit more thinking with the student. Now that they've had time to learn from the videos and practice, they can put it together with that math mission. And then this one, math misconception mystery. This is the problem. Use estimation to find the product of 73 and 389. So for this problem, students would have to just estimate to determine a proper estimation for the product of 73 and 389. And we will have 4 characters solve that problem in the video. Those characters are just me dressed up as a silly character 3 of them will make a common mistake that students make, and 1 of them will solve it correctly. So it's a great opportunity for your students to discuss, to analyze the errors. Then they fill out their detective report and say who the most reasonable answer belongs to. And then with the other characters, what did those characters do that was correct? Because even though they made mistakes, they probably did something correct in shedding light onto those, finding their error, and then what do they need to know for next time. So super fun for that. That's your silver resource. And of course you have your answer keys here. Then for your gold, you have, if you have the gold membership, you have access to a little bit more. You have the mini assessment, the ad-free version of this episode right here, breaking down the B.E.S.T, and McCarthy Math 155. I'll show you there in just a second, but let me just show you a sneak peek at the mini assessment. Okay, so you can see the variety of question types, and you also have the answer key ready for you right there. Now let's go to McCarthy Math 155 so you can see 4th grade. Now there wasn't a specific, oh, let me back up. For McCarthy Math 155, this was a program that was created and aligned to those Common Core standards. So the whole point of taking on the B.E.S.T was that McCarthy Math 155 was not going to support you properly for the new standards, but there are a lot of skills that trickle over from the old standards that we used to have here in Florida. I don't think, I can't, off the top of my head, I can't think of anything that was specific to estimation in this, but there are a lot. I just want to kind of scroll so you can see there are a lot of resources here, a lot of video lessons that are available to you. Just that's the whole reason for me creating Taking on the B.E.S.T was that there wasn't something specific to this standard. Okay, cool. All right, I think that's it for going over what you've got. So we know that this standard was all about using estimation to determine the reasonableness when you're multiplying and dividing, and you know that you have resources at your fingertips to be able to do that. If you are not sure what that looks like, make sure that you preview those video lessons. They're there for you too, so hopefully you'll be able to use those video lessons to then create your own way that you're releasing information out to students. Now, of course, before we go, I want to take this time to remind you that what you wake up and you do every day with your life, it really does matter. As teachers, we have the best yet most challenging profession in the world, in my opinion. I'm sure some of you agree with me. I know that this is exhausting, that it's a very stressful profession, but what you're doing does matter. Our students are the future, and they're looking to us to help point them in the right directions, to help them to step into their own greatness. So thank you so much for showing up daily, giving it your all, and also make sure that you take time for you. We all need the opportunity to rest and recharge. I know I have to give myself reminders because I'm just a little worker bee, but thank you. You're awesome. If nobody told you that you're awesome, here's me telling you you're a rock star. And I can't wait to see you all in the next episode. Bye. Okay, so I know that I just said goodbye for now, but I'm gonna ask you to do one more thing, okay? If you enjoyed this episode, please consider sharing it with your teacher friends or other leaders in education. That's how I get to continue doing what I love to do, which of course is supporting you all to the best of my ability. All right, for real now. Bye.